All right, House of Payne fans, we are talking about last night's episode, Season 12, Episode 8, entitled Pains in the Butt. And to be honest, I actually enjoyed this episode a lot more than I thought I would. The clip where we had Janine and CJ, going back and forth on how to handle the twins. That did have me going, okay, I think Janine might be doing too much. And the resolution by the end of the episode I thought was pretty good. It really was. So the synopsis turned out to be completely inaccurate for the episode. It talked about Ella watching do-it-yourself videos to fix things as opposed to hiring someone. Malik and Lisa having a lot of fights, and that rubs off on CJ and Janine. So yeah, the synopsis was completely just incorrect. So let's talk about the B story first. And before getting into it, folks, we are about 1,600 people away from 250,000 subscribers. So please, if you are watching this video, hit that subscribe button, because a lot of people who watch my content have not hit subscribe. Like this video because, well, I like the episode. You can return the favor by hitting the thumbs up button. Now, if I were to give this episode a score, and no, it's not ironic, or it's not meant to be ironic, but even though this is episode 8, I am giving this episode an 8 out of 10. I was going to give it a 7, but the enjoyability of it, I did. I really did like the episode. And this was the first episode of the season that did not have Jasmine in it. I didn't notice it until I was reading over my notes just now. I'm like, wow, I did not notice that Jasmine was not in this episode. But she had a good 7-episode stretch. That doesn't mean she's gone. I believe she's going to show up in episode 10, wanting to start a Bible study for her college campus, and she needs Ella's help. But the B story is the story that was in the trailer where, what's his name? Uncle Raymond, on Curtis's side of the family passed away, and he inherited like a pair of African fertility statues that are apparently quite rare. An appraiser comes in named Elvin Allen, I believe, and he looks them over, and apparently they're worth a lot of money, somewhere in the ballpark in the 6-figure realm. Now, from there, Curtis is really excited, and he takes off his jacket and starts spinning it around like, yeah, I'm going to be rich. Honestly, I thought he was going to knock it over, because he was swinging that jacket around. I was waiting for him to just, out of excitement, swing it so hard that it hits the statue and it falls on the ground. But then, he's planning things out with Ella. Oh, yeah, we moving. We getting out of here. It's like, no, we could just, remodel this house, Curtis. We don't need to go anywhere. And, he's making all these big plans. But then he notices a scuff on one of the statues, or one or both of the statues. And he just goes off thinking that somebody in the house did it. Now, granted, earlier in the episode, CJ and Calvin are getting back in from playing some basketball, both talking to each other about how, yeah, they're getting up in the age where they can't play like they used to. And Calvin gets a call from his dad to come over to meet, the family to get together because, they need to meet somebody. And it's the appraiser guy who comes over. But my question is, and this isn't me complaining, but my thing was, why was Miranda there? Was she invited too? Because I was like, wait, why is she even there? So it's Calvin, Laura, Miranda, Curtis, and Ella. Now, while they're freaking out over the scuff, because remember, Curtis was the one that did it. It turns out that, because he damaged the statue, it's worthless. Now, I have some issues with this. So, the appraiser comes back with a check, and, he said it was going to make some phone calls, and, instead of it being some sort of like bidding war, it was pretty quick and easy. He handed the check over to Curtis that made him go insane because it was apparently very large. But as soon as this guy sees the damage on one of the statues, he takes the check and rips it up and leaves. And that's it. Now, you all, well, maybe not all of you know, but I sell on eBay. action figures, books, DVDs, all that good stuff. But the main bread and butter of my store are trading cards, mainly Pokemon cards. Been doing this for almost over 6 years now. So I have experience with this kind of thing. Now, granted, there's a difference between trading cards and statues, but I want to talk about selling items based on condition. This appraiser said there are only 3 sets of these statues in the world. So 3 pairs of this set of statues, and Curtis has one of them. Apparently the other 2, which are in mint condition, are in museums somewhere. Hence why this 3rd pair is so expensive. I find it very unlikely that due to a small bit of damage that the statues go from being 6 figures. I'm just going to shoot it. I'm just going to say like maybe $600,000. I don't know. I don't know the price. But they're from going to be very expensive to just completely nothing. That makes no sense whatsoever. Case in point, if you are in the trading card world, for example, let's say you have a card that's been graded. Basically, graded means you send a card off to one of these grading companies. They review the card to make sure, you know, the whiting's on it's good. The whitening, what do they call it? The whiting, to make sure it isn't, you know, any white spots or anything on the back of a trading card. They make sure it's centered correctly, you know, and other factors that go into the overall score. The highest being a 10. 10 means the card is perfect. And let's say the card is maybe worth $300 PSA 10. A card that's a 9.5 could be extremely less than that $300. It could be like $150. And then, of course, you know, as the grading goes down, the price or value of the card goes down as well. So you're telling me these extremely rare statues are all of a sudden completely worthless? Now, it would have been different if it's like, hey, there are 80 sets of these statues around the world. Only 2 of them have been seen to be completely undamaged. Mint condition statues that are now in museums. Mr. Payne, you have the 3rd pair, and it's very wealthy. So if, let's say, you know, oh, he notices a chip, and then the statue loses complete value, that makes sense because there are a number of other pairs of statues out there that are damaged. But also the fact that there are 2 statues, and I believe only one of them had like a little scuff mark on it. So you're telling me the other statue of the pair being mint condition means nothing? Yeah, I feel like it was a bit ridiculous. And it just kind of irked me just because I do the seller thing. And I'm like, that's not really how it works, but whatever. All right. But that's pretty much the B story. Now we get to the A story. So after Calvin and CJ had come in from the basketball game they had, they pretty much sat on the couch and they noticed the twins' backpacks. And they were both open and they noticed like, wait a minute, is this an expensive action figure? What about these comic books? Is this a gourmet food? And then when Janine comes in, CJ asks, it's like, wait, I thought we agreed we wouldn't, you know, buy these expensive things for the kids. And it's like, oh no, well, the kids told me that they have friends who pretty much just give them that stuff. Like if they see something they like, then the friends just give it to them. It's like, wow, I can't believe our kids are that popular. But then later in the episode, we get to the clip, you know, when CJ comes in saying he got some phone calls from the school, disgruntled parents, because apparently the twins have been bullying kids and, you know, taking stuff from them. Janine doesn't want to believe it. CJ wants to resort right to whooping. And I will say, I will agree with Janine that instead of going straight for the belt, let's just talk to them first to, you know, make sure we know the entire situation. And then, of course, you know, CJ does the my kids thing. And Janine, let's be completely honest, I feel like even if you side with her, she did overreact. And it's the fact that she didn't even try to have the conversation. She just got in her feelings. And, you know, it's funny how she went from telling CJ not to get a belt on the kids, yet she literally was pointing a knife in his general direction. So, yeah, the definition of doing too much. So then she just walks out. Later in the episode, CJ comes down, smells the dinner she was cooking because she was struggling to cut broccoli. But it did look good. Her plate did look good. But you know, then it gets into a little petty thing about, you know, oh, I got food and you don't, and are we going to dance around the situation or talk about it? Like, what's going on? But then, you know, he apologized for what he said, but then she floats around the idea of divorce, and it's like, are you really serious right now? Yes, I know that she eventually said I was joking, but I don't really think that's something you joke about. But that's just, hey, I'm not married. What do I know? But I just know that I wouldn't appreciate, you know, over if there was a argument, just an argument, no physical altercation, but we disagree about something, and then you float around divorce. It gave me Miranda vibes because remember, in the midst of a conversation, Janine, like Miranda, was the one to just up and leave. And then next thing you know, divorce. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it gave me Fatima. You know what it was? It gave me Fatima vibes. The fact that, oh, you're running away instead of having a conversation. You getting your feelings over something that, you know, your man said. And, well, I will say this about Janine. At least she cooled down and had a conversation with CJ about it. And in the end, they worked together to solve the problem. They both acknowledged how, you know, hey, maybe we both said some things. So I will say this. I will give that point over to Janine over Fatima. That, you know. But overall, it goes back to what I said. I think, well, you know, let me finish the review first and I'll get back to it. So they both, because again, Janine did have a plate for CJ in the microwave. Then at the end of the episode, the twins are on the couch and they pretty much break the entire thing down about how, you know what, you're in trouble. What you're going to do is when you want something expensive like that, you come talk to us. And if we say no, you get a job. And Janine's like, hey, babe, cool. Then cool. Oh, yeah, okay, maybe that's a bit too much. But what you're going to do is you're going to be punished. And they're like, no, spanking. No, we're past that. You're going to be punished. You're going to write from the dictionary, starting at B. You're going to write everything down that your mom said to show that you understand what you did was wrong. You're going to apologize to everybody you bullied. You're going to give back all the stuff you took. And we're going to cut back on work. That way we can contact the school to make sure we know more about what you're getting into. So it's the compromising nature that I really appreciated. So even though I felt some kind of way about Janine's initial reaction, the compromise and then their teamwork to parent at the end is what makes up for it, you know. But like I said before, the fact that she's gone for these long stretches of time, either because she's working in town or she's out of town. And what was it that last season we saw the episode where CJ's manhood was being questioned because, you know, he was the one with the apron fixing dinner and whatnot all the time because Janine wasn't around. He was the one that had to hold the house down. He was the one that had to, you know, take care of all these kids, not just the twins, but Malik and Lisa and Jasmine. He was the one having to do everything. So some people are like, well, wait, in the original series, weren't they against spanking? Somebody reminded me of the episode too, because I sure as hell forgot about it. I can't remember if Janine was in the show at the time, or excuse me, not in the show, but I can't remember if this was at the time where she was in rehab or, you know, she was on the drugs, so she wasn't at the Payne house all the time. But I think it was CJ who was against Curtis, who wanted to spank one of the kids for something. But the thing is, if it was CJ isn't that same guy anymore. Remember, at that point, you know, he had Curtis and Ella to both, you know, to help him out with the kids because they were all under one roof. Now, it's CJ and all these kids under one roof, but he has to hold it down himself, you know? So, him being this patient, like, yeah, let's talk about it. That guy's gone. He's not completely gone, but there isn't enough time for him to be this coddling parent, you know, to avoid spankings, as opposed to, look, you know, we need to nip it in the bud now. Janine does make the point about, oh, you know, if our kids get spanking, they'll get violent. Let me be honest here. I got spankings, and it taught me right from wrong. I think for me personally, I don't think I would classify what I had to go through as beatings, because I only was, quote unquote, you know, hit when I did something wrong. But at the same time, it's like, you know, when you go to school and you see certain kids where it's like, yeah, I could tell their parents don't discipline them at all. I just feel like, you know, with Janine, she just needs to recognize, oh, wow, I don't know my babies like I thought. Yeah, just because you carried them for 9 months doesn't mean you know these kids the way you think you do. Yeah, I get it. Parents don't want to believe these things. They can be blindsided. but it goes back to her just being an absent parent due to her job. And I'm not faulting her for that. I'm just saying that's really the way it is. You know? And I stand with CJ in terms of, I feel like he knows his kids better than Janine does. I mean, we can argue back and forth on that, but I feel like that's the truth. That's the truth. But when it comes down to not wanting to talk things out, CJ, yeah, cool your jets. Like, yeah, you got the phone. I understand you got the phone calls and whatnot, but at least talk to your kids first to make sure you fact check. I mean, yeah, you saw the evidence and everything, but just hear them out. Let's just to say what's going on. Like, these people say they took things, but are you sure? Did they not trade? Did they? I just get all the facts before you start swinging that belt. That's all I'm saying. So, with that being said, I did enjoy this episode. It really did give some good. I had a conversation with another fan a few days ago about the show. No, actually, recently after we saw the clip of Janine and CJ. And despite us kind of being on opposite ends of the spectrum on the Janine CJ debate, I brought up the fact that, you know what? I do like these episodes of House of Payne, this upcoming episode and then the one with Laura's parents, because we're getting good conversation out of it. And he's like, yeah, you know what? That's a good point. So, yeah, I did enjoy the episode. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.